Okay, so welcome all of you to this webinar. I see we still got other people entering, so let's give it a minute. Hi, everybody. Nice
Whoa.
to see you. I'm planning, all goes well, as they say. Next year, I'm going to be at the Academy. I'm actually going to see people in person. So that
Chicago,
will
here
be
we
really
come.
nice. Yes, because right now, I mean, a lot of you I only know from Zoom. This is not a way to, it'd really be nice to see you all in person. So I will be there next summer. All goes well. Okay, so we're still admitting some people into the room. So, but let me get started. So I'm Jerry Biberman, and I'm one of the founders of the MSR division now. So now we're a division. So this is great. And I'm also the head of the Flamekeepers. And what we did as Flame, first I want to say something about the purpose of these of the Flamekeepers and the purpose of these big question webinars. So the Flamekeepers, you all saw a description that was written up. The basic idea is that we're supposed to be like and Judy can correct me if I'm getting this one. We're kind of like the elders of the group. I mean, uh, Judy, Lee, and I were one amongst the ones who sort of founded the interest group. And the idea of the Flank Keepers is to kind of be the elders and make sure that the group is going the way we kind of thought it should go, or provide some wisdom to the young folks, that kind of thing. Because uh, several of us are getting a little older and it's time to pass things on to the new generation. And it's really exciting now that we're a division. So then the idea behind the big questions is rather than get caught up in well, what should we do to what how can how can we become division and all that, which has already happened. So this is great. So now we can focus in on, well, what really are we doing? What is the purpose of the group? And so we've done some of these big question webinars, topics such as is there a dark side to what we're doing? What really is our purpose for doing this stuff? What are really what is our long-term plan? What would we really like to see happen? Um, as a division, how can we as a division make any kind of an impact in the world, or at least in academia? And so that's kind of the idea behind these big question webinars. So it's not so much to get into the kinds of specific things like let's talk about a specific research idea. There's other things, and there are other things going on in the division for that. This is more to raise kind of big questions, overall questions. So having said that, the purpose of today's webinar is to come up with and brainstorm strategies for mainstreaming MSR into the academy and into the world. In other words, how can we have an impact both in the academy and into the larger world? Um, and before we get started, well, first I'll just tell you kind of the general idea. We're going to start off with an opening meditation. Then each of the flame keepers is going to make a 1 or 2 minute short comment as to where they see, how they see we could mainstream MSR into the world. And then we're going to go into breakout groups, which Arnita is going to assign with at least one flame keeper in each group. And then we're going to all get back together and see what we've come up with and discuss next steps. So if you're all okay with this, give me a thumbs up. Okay, so that's thumbs up. And before Richard does the meditation, I just um, also feel like I think given current world events, this is really important topic that we're discussing today. I mean, if we look at what's going on now in Israel and in Gaza. And for me, it raises two important questions. One is um, on the spiritual side. Well, there's the spiritual and the religious side. I've always felt that every religion starts with a mystical experience, and then it's how it's interpreted within the culture or whatever. And here we have a really sad case of two religions that are really not that different from each other, sharing much of the same culture, much of the same history, and because of all kinds of geopolitical things, now we're in a real mess. And it's only at least for the foreseeable future, it seems to be getting worse. So the question is, what can we do individually? What can we do as a group? And if nothing else, just send our prayers and energies over there and hope for peace. I've come to the conclusion that the best way that we can have peace in the world is to start off with peace within ourselves. Um, so there's a thought. But again, I think it would be really whatever we can do to at least send energy over there and hope for peace. This would be a good time to do it. And so now I'd like to have Richard is going to lead us in an opening meditation. Richard Pergan.
Thank you, Jerry. Please exhale now. And a deep breath in. And exhale. Once more. In. Resume breathing naturally. Be in a comfortable position. And as you breathe in naturally, breathe in a golden light that is in front of you. And you watch that light as you breathe in. And as you breathe out normally, feel the angst, the pain, the dismounts, descending through your body and leaving through your feet. Continue to breathe normally. As you breathe in, the light is getting brighter, the light is getting closer. Breathe out and let the discomforts, the pains, the anguish descend through your body and out through your feet. Continue to breathe in. The light is getting even more close. It's hovering about you, entering into your body. As it flows down through your body, it's pushing out all of the angst, all of the discomfort, all of the pain, exiting through your feet. Breathe in. Breathe the light which encompasses you, this golden, golden glow. As it enters into you through the top of your head, descends, 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 clearing as it goes, moving out those kinds of difficulties and disasters, the concerns that you have, wherever they be, yours, your friends, your neighbors, your world, out through your feet. In, breathe in that golden light. Feel it now, filling you, cleansing you of all the distaste and the disaster, the difficulties of life, the concerns that you have for self and others, going out through your feet. And just breathe naturally in. With each in-breath, the golden light comes into you. And with each out-breath, it clears out all of the angst, all of the concerns, all of the passions of the world. Now in silence, continue breathing naturally. In, bring the light in. Out, exit the pain. And now, bathed in that golden glow, go forth, do what you will as you enjoy your life.
Thank you, Richard, for
Namaste.
that. Thank you. And now we'll begin discussing strategies for mainstreaming MSR. I have some thoughts, but I thought I'd let everybody else go first. So, Judy, would you like to go first?
Sure, Jerry. Thank you, Richard. That was very beautiful and healing. Thank you so much. I think one of the key ways we mainstream MSR is to look within and see what is our own comfort or discomfort with what I call the S words: soul, spirit, spirituality, but love, faith, the related words that are the domain of our field. Are you comfortable using those in the classroom, in your consulting, in your writing? And where is the discomfort? And how can you make peace with that discomfort? Because it does have to begin with us. And then we need to become courageous about using the language that is the MSR language in places where it's not normally accepted. And so it takes courage, but it also takes self-awareness. If we're uncomfortable using those words, people will sense that discomfort. They'll be uncomfortable and they may want to argue or attack or shut off. And so, first of all, we have to really be in alignment with what our sense of mission and calling is, and then to be courageous in all these different parts of our lives. So I'm complete.
Thank you, Judy. Lee?
So my view is that the best thing that we can do is come to understand and appreciate those who disagree with us. In Buddhism, it's the middle way. In usual terminology, it's moderation. And I say that also being affected, as Jerry had mentioned, by the terrible unfolding again in the Middle East, in a situation that I believe, and I am Jewish by background, or Buddhist by practice, in a situation in which the skills and abilities and situation of the Jews and the Muslims actually would have a wonderful opportunity to work together and create a life and a nation, and an example for the world that was better. And of course, Muhammad came out of Judaism, as did Christianity. And yet these tribes are attacking one another. It only has a loose relationship to it, I suppose. Maybe it doesn't. In the last few nights, my spouse and I saw Chimpa Empire, the Netflix drama about chimps in Africa and the wars they have and what happens between them. And we are they, probably best summed up in the saying from Peanuts long ago: we have seen the enemy, and it is us. So I think that's what we need to do. And in practical terms, immediately in terms of MSR, we can find common ground with other divisions of MSR, do things together with them, find ways in which capitalism and equity and dealing with global warming can coexist. And easier to say than to do, but those are my thoughts at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Let's see, how about Richard? Richard Paraguay?
Yes. I think what it is, for me, it's to try to lead an exemplar life, not a saintly one, but an exemplar life. Have a spiritual compass, a concern for others, a recognition that there are those people who are better than you in their surroundings, in their personal satisfaction, and what have you. And there are those who perhaps lack some of the kinds of things that we look for in humanity. But be concerned with them, that they recognize who they are, and that you recognize who you are. And so at any time when you are attempting to interfere, do no harm. Concern yourself, allow it to come to you, and be your own person. Namaste.
Thank you, Richard. Let's see, Chris?
Thank you. First of all, I want to just recognize everyone on this call. We're giving a few words to Flamekeepers here. However, I think looking at who is on the call today, everyone on this call could and has thoughts and ideas about how to move MSR research into more of the mainstream. And I just want to recognize that we have a great group here. So I guess, Jerry, that's the idea in the breakout groups, that we'll be able to hear more from everybody, which I'm really looking forward to. So, the thing that I wanted to bring to this conversation is, how do you bring the essential identity of MSR to greater relevance, or to address issues that are, as has already been said, some of the big issues of the day. I want to share my screen here for 1 second. I don't know if you can everybody see this? Yeah. So this is from a paper that was actually published in 2016 in JMSR. The what, why, and how of MSR research over, I forget, a 14-year period. And the authors talked about these 3 dimensions of organizational life: meaning and purpose at work, a person's inner spiritual and religious needs, and community and connectedness. I think this was an effort to sort of carve out the distinct categories for MSR research. And I think if we recognize that there is some value to thinking about what is MSR research in terms of these 3 categories, then let's look at what it means for today. So at one level, meaning and purpose at work is about helping us have some greater purpose, helping people understand, what is their life purpose, or a transcendental purpose, God, whatever it might be. And meaning and purpose at work is also about sense making, and increasingly it's about sustainability. Community and connectedness is increasingly about values alignment, a sense of belonging, and diversity, equity, and inclusion, and generally social justice. And then we can also link a person's inner needs to employee well-being, mindfulness, and faith at work. So, okay, so all of that is pretty much a link that I don't think will surprise any of you. But we can go one further link here and say, look, why is this so important? Well, in terms of greater purpose, sense-making, and sustainability, climate change and the boundaries, the planetary boundaries that we are exceeding, are reasons why we need to bring spirituality and other ways of knowing to management research. And the decline of democracy and the rise of conflicts that has already been discussed around the world are reasons why we need more community and connectedness. And then for a person's inner spiritual or religious needs, we know that there is an increase in mental health challenges, and really around the world, and a greater need for people to be able to heal themselves spiritually and make themselves whole. So I'll stop here, but the overall message is, take how you see MSR and think about how you can link it outwards to the big issues of the day, and why it is so relevant today to solving those issues. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Juanita?
Hello, everyone. I think that I thought about the question, and I think there are opportunities that we may not realize in the idea of understanding and searching for the meaning of spirituality or spirit. And there's much that's been written and discussed and shared over time regarding that there is an identity, a spiritual identity. And recognizing that my spiritual identity is not the the metric or the gauge in terms of the the intent or the ability to be able to live a good life. Okay, good, we can define in many different ways, but the reality is that our spirit defines our identity, and that is worth knowing. Okay, in truth, not the assumption that we make often in terms of the type of spirit I am, because as we see with the conflict that's going on in Israel, is that basically is that I can define the person I am and make choices out of that definition. We need to have a different metric and to use that in order to gauge our actions and our decisions. And so we see that there is a spiritual element. There is a spirit that's not ours that defines the way in order to be able to live in harmony with those around us and at peace with ourselves. And so I'm sure that in many different references, it could be defined as such, because I do think it's the same. But as I look in scriptures, in Galatians, it talks about the spirit, okay? And it defines the spirit, or it says the fruit of the spirit, which means the presence of spirit, okay, is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And it says that against such things, these things, there is no law. There is no law. And so if we seek that spirit and seek an identity that we can equate with the true spiritual nature that has been given us, compared to how we might have become over time because of other influences, because of personal challenges, because of the many different things that the world does to us, if we would seek that spirit in our personal lives, in our research, we can make a difference here.
Okay, thanks, Anita. And Catherine?
So hello, oops, I got caught in this wire here. Impressive to follow each and all of you. I interpreted your question, Jerry, as being sort of more of a tactical or strategic one. And nonetheless, it sort of like stopped my mind to hear these wise words from you, Ornata, and the others. But to go back to that, where I went with your question was to really get in touch with your interests and the bridge between that and other people, specific other people that you could see to work with, and opportunities. And so I think of the very existence of MSR at all, and I wasn't there at the very beginning, but I sensed that Judy and whoever else you were collaborating with, I think Lee and Jerry were there near the very beginning. That's what was the kind of thing that happened, probably, that you found one another and you saw both something missing there and something you could do about it. And so I really want to encourage all of us to do that, because that's what I've done over time, and that's what's led to programs existing, to keeping things going over time, as this is an amazing example of. A smaller one, I'll just share my screen very briefly because it came from this same kind of thought process. This is in the International Leadership Association. For 4 years now, we've had what we call mindfulness and connection sessions with mindfulness and connection practice guides. And you can kind of see from the pictures that I really go for inclusion of people from different backgrounds and different orientations in their spirituality. And this has been something that may become part of them, as this has become part of the Academy, but I don't know yet. But I think it was probably a similar kind of action, so that the more each of us looks to where are we connected with people, who can we work with, how can we collaborate, and create something that will then benefit others and bring others into a process. So that's my thought for today. Thank you for
Thanks.
including me.
Thanks, Catherine. And before we go into the breakout groups, because Chris is right, I mean, the people here, you know, every one of you is so neat to see. Some of you I haven't seen in a couple of years, like Regina. And anyway, I think what we're going to do is we're going to get into breakout groups, talk for a while, and then get into the large group. I think in the breakout groups, it'd be easier for all of us to contribute instead of trying to do like however, there's 20 of us on here right now. I just wanted to add a couple of comments of my own. Listening to what the other Flamekeeper said, I mean, it's interesting, and it's all true. Starting with what Judy was saying about how comfortable are we discussing this stuff, because that's very important. And then going into our own personal values about it, and then going into what are some of the practical things to do. These are all important. Some of the things I jotted down was for practical things: send manuscripts to mainstream academy journals, reach out to and collaborate with colleagues in related academy and management divisions and areas, consider reaching out to the media with some of your research ideas and results, share some of your research on LinkedIn and other outlets, and incorporate your research theories and ideas into your own consulting if you do any consulting. Not like I've done half of these things myself, but I think these are all things that could be done. When I go on LinkedIn and I see what people put on there, it's interesting. Some people put, I'm working on this research and here's what I'm finding. And now you're reaching a whole other audience that you don't reach in academia. I have my own theories as to how useful academic research is, which some of you have heard before. But since we're all in academia and we all need to get tenure and, you know, those kinds of things, and that's what we're doing. The question is taking that and having some kind of an impact where people actually will read it or understand what we're doing. I think this becomes increasingly important. I wanted to say something about the religious thing for a while. I also have a Jewish background. I taught at a Jesuit school for years. I've done the Ignatian spiritual exercises. I've done, I used to study with Zalman Schachter. So I've really gotten into a lot of different religions. Right now, there's a meetup group in here in Las Vegas that meets once a week, and it's called a safe place to discuss religion. And so I've been going there. There's two really very devout, I don't know how devout they are, but they're really big time into Christianity. There's an atheist. I'll bring up stuff from the Old Testament, you know, and talk about that. And it's kind of interesting. And we all sit there and it is kind of interesting. We share our ideas and no one attacks anybody. And I think this might, you know, getting back to the history of MSR, I think I became the first chair of MSR. Back in the early days, there was a big discussion between religion and spirituality, and should we include both? And the Academy kind of insisted that we include religion, and some people didn't like the idea, and I could see it from all the sides. I can still see it from all the sides. The sad thing is and saying what I was saying before, even though they all start with the same mystical experience, as soon as you start to codify and make rules, you lose sight of the fact that they're so similar. I mean, the word for peace in Arabic is salam. The word for peace in Hebrew is shalom. It's the same word, same background. Everything starts from, at least in Judeo-Christian, all starts from the Jewish background. A lot of people don't know that Jesus was Jewish, which is kind of interesting. And in that group that I go to once a week, I pointed out there's such a thing as a Jewish New Testament, which is really interesting. It looks at the New Testament and just shows you all the Jewish holidays and all the Jewish terms that they're talking about without talking in terms of Jewish terms. And this isn't even including all the other religions of the world. You know, it's only been, I think, within the last 10, 20 years that the Eastern religions, that we even recognize that there's these Eastern traditions. Thanks to the internet, the pluses and minuses, right? Now we can get all this information about all these religions, and we can also spread all kinds of misinformation about all the religions. So it's pluses and minuses, I guess. Anyway, those are my thoughts, and they range from the wider range all the way to practical little steps we can take. Now I think it'd be a good idea to get into the groups. Ornita, how many groups do you think we should do?
It looks like if we could have 5 groups of 4 people each, if that works for you.
Okay, just make sure there's one Flamekeeper in each group.
Yes, I
And
can do that.
let's see, it's 8. How about we do this for, what do you think, 15, 20 minutes and get back together as a large group, or?
We could. Hey, Jerry, did we hear from Lee?
Yeah, Lee was, yes.
We did hear. Okay, just checking to make sure
First,
everyone had it.
I wrote them all down to make sure. First, we heard from Judy, then we heard from Lee, then we heard from Richard, then Chris, then Ornita, and then Catherine.
Good. I just
So we
checking.
heard from
Thank you.
everyone. Yep.
Okay.
So thank you.
so
That
how long-
makes me feel like I should have talked longer, whereas normally I feel like I should have talked less.
No, I think I just had a senior moment. That's all.
Okay, so what do you think? Let's do this for what? How many minutes do you think, Ornita? What do you think?
It is 10:37 now, and so I think we could do 15 minutes if you want to do
Okay.
that.
Let's do like 15 minutes, and then we'll have a large discussion where anybody can jump in. Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to
Good,
break
good.
into groups now for the next 15 minutes. So, which Ornita will assign.
Okay.
Okay.
In just less than a minute, you should receive an invitation to a breakout room. If you would enter into that room, and if I need to move a Flamekeeper out, I'll do that. And
Okay.
then I'll also give you a 1-minute warning toward the end before we have to move back into this session. Okay?
Okay. Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Ornita, where am I supposed to be?
I'm looking for you.
I don't
I need
see.
I need to put you into room 5.
I can just join, I think. I'll do that.
Okay, if you could do that, that would be great.
we're all back. Am I on? Can you all hear me?
Yes, and recording has been resumed.
Okay, now what I'd like to, we have about a half hour left, and I'd like to open it up and especially hear from people who haven't said anything yet. So, and I don't really want to call on people, but if no one says anything, I will start calling on it. But whoever would like to go first, who would like to say something? Just unmute yourself and say something.
I think we could go group by group, or I can represent what was
I don't know
discussed.
who's in what group, so,
Yeah,
Go ahead.
no, but they're numbered 1 to 5. But we know.
okay.
I thought I saw Kevin Frick. Is he here?
Yeah, Kevin wanted to say something,
He
and
left.
then,
He left.
but he put something in the chat. Let's see, what did he put in the chat?
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, wants to leave, but share something about Christian-Jewish ties. The Jesuit priest where I attend made a lot of comments on Sukkot, thinking about it as a harvest, symbols of harvest. So the parish I go to, we definitely look for links. Okay, all right, so. All right, so let's see, who was in group 1? I don't even know what group I was in, but let's see, who was in? Anil, why don't you just, since you started, why don't you say something?
Sharda was probably in group 1, right?
I was in group 1. Julia was there, Puneet was there, and Richard.
Oh, okay,
Is it?
all right, good,
Yes.
so,
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Summarize what you had.
say
Difficult to
something.
summarize, but we started first with Julia, and please feel free to connect and add. Julia talked about struggles, and it's that lesson of that joy is always coming together with struggle in a way. That's the pattern that she's finding. And that same thing I was talking about, and I introduced this thing, like in the Hinduism, we will say sukh and dukh. And actually it's like we are talking about the same coin, but there are two sides, grief and happiness. And then I gave some of the examples. Then also Richard talked about it's also who you are and who you think you are bringing yourself in connection with others. And it's not about how people see you, because in that moment, in that context, it can be a certain behavior, but who you truly are, it's more deeper, and you know yourself. And then Puneet brought in that interesting thing, which is probably very interesting for the whole group, talking about the concept of elders, since we talked about Flamekeepers and the elders, that from a Hindu perspective, we have this concept of Vriddha, the elders, and we say that you can define elders as based on age, based on knowledge, so wisdom, and the third one could be based on struggles, because with our struggles, every time we have struggles, we learn and we increase. And so instead of only looking at elders from the age perspective, we can look at the other parts as well, because that will help guiding the vision of MSR for the future. He also added this idea of how we can connect the young people, because we may have our own insights of how MSR is moving forward or should move forward, but that bringing that is interesting. And especially also in that connection is that, are we not struggling, or are we not talking about the goodness, how did he, suffering from the disease of goodness? This is a strong phrase he asked us to reflect on. Always thinking of these dichotomies. I think that's what he means, good versus bad. And is that going to help us? Or are we maybe more help if we transcend those views? And the other one was a way to becomes very much instrumental, even if you look at spirituality and how we always talk about the benefits that everyone is having from that spirituality or spiritual techniques. And maybe it's embracing that struggle would help us also to come further in our contributions. And that brings us also back to that Hindu concept of tapasya, that hardship, but with joy. I've put some of my own words to it, but feel free, Group 1, to add.
I think you
Yeah,
did a
I
great
just
job.
Thank you. Well done.
Constantine wrote a thing about, he said, age, knowledge, and struggles, who made the differentiation? Can you explain that?
yeah, I mentioned it. Three types of elders: elder by
Oh.
age, elder by knowledge, and elder by the word is tapas, which can be loosely translated to struggle for this audience, although it has a nuanced meaning. But let's.
What's the nuanced meaning?
The nuanced meaning is that when you have a situation where it's not conducive for general people, but you see it as a happy moment. For example, there are sadhus who sleep on the floor, and for a normal person, it may not be comfortable. But sadhus are very happy sleeping on the floor without a mattress. The small
Oh,
example illustrates it. You know, that for them, it's not struggle. For them, it's a luxury.
interesting. Yeah. You can look at it in terms of age, knowledge. Yes, that's true. Some people, you could argue that they get older, but they don't get any wiser. Some people are very wise when they're young. So very, very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. A small distinction that I wanted to, when Shada said the disease of goodness, here I refer to that we are giving a license to ourselves that we are the good people in the world. Maybe we can maybe put that license aside for a moment and then engage with the world as normal people. Perhaps we'll be able to engage with more business people, more normal people, and maybe take spirituality to better ends. So that was my thought, that I thought that maybe the elders can reflect upon or say
Interesting.
something.
Well, I mean, we're always the hero of our own movie. We're all the hero of our own story, right? And sometimes as we get older, we become even more the hero of our, because memory fades and, build ourselves up even more. So that's really very interesting. Thank you. Okay, who was in group 2? I don't know which group is. Do you know, Ornita, who was in group 2?
Yes, that was Anil's group.
Anil. Where'd he go?
Let me see who else was there. He may have
This was in the group with Anil.
Catherine Constantine.
Yeah, I was in that group, and Maisha and Catherine,
Oh,
and we
there
all agreed that Anil will share. Oh, there he is.
then Anil dropped
Yeah,
out.
okay. No, I didn't, the internet dropped out. I didn't mean to. So
Okay.
thank you. So yeah, we also had a very broad-based discussion. It's if I were to use one wholeness word, it was like Judy's word: acceptance, self-acceptance, and I guess expansion and existence of dualities, opposites, instead of inclusion of all of that, accepting everything within us, all the goods and bads, good and bad. So Maisha was talking about self-acceptance. She's studying CEO burnout, and she was saying that be willing to shrink and let others shine. Just accept who you are, believe in your own thing, and do with conviction, consistency, and be advocate for what you stand for. Similar to what Judy was saying, be with courage. Konstantin asked a very interesting question. He says he's trying to make sense of MSR as a division. And he said, why don't more people join? Which I rephrased as, is MSR boring? And where's the excitement? So that's a very big question on whether the nature of topics we study is inherently sort of non-confrontational and therefore not exciting in that traditional sense of having sports, etc., kind of thing. My perspective was that, and then this whole discussion happened about why are we talking about mainstreaming MSR sort of, because I was bringing about that maybe MSR is the counterfoil to the rest of the academy, which is so much focused on money, especially the biggest division like entrepreneurship and strategy and others. So maybe we are the counterfoil. So then maybe the point was that maybe we should not mainstream. So we use the term called whole streaming. Maybe mainstreaming is not the right word. We make all of academy managers whole streaming, in which every sub-streams are flowing together in their own ways, but providing sense of balance to everybody. And my point was that we need to therefore expand our consciousness and include everybody. And Catherine brought out this notion of passion and compassion, sort of again thinking of others, asking the right questions for collaboration. So thank you. I'll stop there.
Yeah, Constantine raised a good point, and it's an interesting one. Why aren't more people joining MSR? There are still people in the academy who think that MSR is a bunch of airy-fairy, going off all this weird stuff. What's it have to do with business management and anything else?
Yeah.
And that's been, that's been true ever since we started. But I mean, we kept at it. And apparently, at least we've reached division status. I mean, now the big question is, does any of this mean anything in the larger, just the academy in general? Every year, the president of the academy complains that nobody pays any attention. How come nobody reads our journals? Why doesn't this have any impact? So that's the whole academy doesn't have any impact. So maybe we shouldn't even be trying to influence the academy. Let's just try to influence. I like that. What do you call it? Whole streaming. That's an interesting idea. Whole streaming. But anyway, I think over time now that I don't know if membership is going to build up because it's a division now. And of course, the question is, the more you try to fit in with everybody else, does that dilute what you stand for? Or on the other hand, can we just keep doing what we're doing and influence other people? So who was in group 3?
Gary, that was your group.
Oh, that's our group. Okay, Jen, why don't you say what happened?
Okay, thank you, Jerry. I'm Tian Yuan. People call me Tian. So in my group with Jerry and Lee, I think the topic was centered on my question, my problem about how to find co-authors or co-researchers to work on very personal issues, because that is the way I approach spirituality. It is through personal sufferings, personal trauma, emotional conundrums that I get to break my ego and accessing the spirituality that Anita referred to. So it's very personal, and I found it difficult to find another person sharing similar or same experiences, or having the Buddhist tradition, the knowledge as I do. I raised this question because many of the Flamekeepers talk have this common thread of collaborating with others, finding people to work with. So that is the challenge I'm facing. But I think Jerry pointed out that the sufferings I have actually are shared by many people can relate to my personal sufferings. So the commonalities actually are more than I thought. So if for example, if I post a question to the MSR discussion board, asking whoever wants to work with me on this on this issue, such as domestic violence I suffered since childhood, and how I related to my workplace experience. I think I can find people who may share this experience, and even though they are not Zen Buddhist, they may be able to approach the issue from a different spiritual tradition or perspectives. So so I think this also relates to what Chris just talked about the many the global issues, the many sufferings people are facing. I think we can find common ground because these are the common challenges, difficulties we are facing with human beings. So Lee, I see you raising hand, please.
Yes, so let me give a suggestion for a direction of research, which I feel has been largely, though not entirely, neglected by people involved with MSR. And it arises out actually that I believe Jerry had mentioned at the beginning, the conflict in early days between the names. So it started out as management and spirituality, and then it became management, spirituality, and religion. And there were people, including myself, who were opposed to that kind of change because we were concerned that it might bring in religious scholars who would use it to proselytize for their particular religion. In fact, that has not at all occurred. Learn from one's errors. And so that was an error on my part, and it was actually a good thing because it brought people in from religions that wanted to look for commonalities. But the other thing that I thought of, and this is the point that I really wanted to make, is that when it got added, I thought, well, okay, a kind of appreciative inquiry. What is the benefit of that? And I thought a major benefit would be potentially that we would look at the management aspects of religion. So if you look around at the things that have happened in the world that are terrible, wars in particular, which again, we can return to the Middle East for the moment, that these are typically conflicts, often conflicts, maybe not typically, between religions and between tribal groups that are rather like religions. And there has been a bit of research from MSR on the management of religions, what should be its purpose, how to do it in an equitable way. As I'm sure all of you know, many times they end up being used by their leaders for their own self-seeking purposes. So I would just like to suggest that as a topic that perhaps people might consider bringing in, and in terms of collaboration, perhaps it could be done jointly with people who are more focused directly on management research.
Yeah, good point. And as I was saying about looking at other divisions, there's also other outside the academy. You have religious studies. You might want to branch out, reach out to people in other departments at your university, wherever you are. They might be interested. That would be interesting. It's kind of a cross collaboration. Okay, we got 15 minutes left and we still have 2 more groups, right? There were 5 groups, right, Arnita?
That's correct. We have
Okay.
Chris's group and then Judy's group remaining.
All right. So, Chris, what happened in your group?
Well, we had some interesting conversations. Shall I, Gunjan and Alan, would you like me to start and then you just add in a little bit? So,
Yes.
okay. So we looked at current research approaches or methodologies that we are currently taking and how we might add or strengthen the current approaches with MSR methodologies. And I think part of the point is that, you know, most of us are trained in qualitative or quantitative or mixed methods in the areas that we study. And the point is not that we would need to reduce those approaches in any way, but we could strengthen those approaches with MSR specific approaches. And so Gunjan, for example, who is doing research on career success and you have to correct me if I'm not getting this right, employability and career success, and how the role of work salience, meaning doing what you love to do at work, is driving. Do you want to say a bit more, Gunjan?
No, Chris, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, and so this idea of work salience brings you to self-concepts that have a spirituality dimension to them. And so part of Gunjan's interest is to look at how people from different backgrounds approach career success. And she does this, most of her research is using quantitative methods. Both Gunjan and Elam Malik, who was the other researcher in our conversation, emphasized this need for getting more voices, more diversity of voices in MSR research, in their research. And so we think, I would guess that MSR and the Flamekeepers, we feel we're pretty global, right? We have a pretty good range of different religions and so on and geographies, but in fact, it remains it remains a little bit lopsided towards Western and a subgroup of religions that we know the Christianity, Islam, and Jewish and a few other religions, but it's not a truly global representation yet. And so I just want to make that as one of the points that came out of our conversation, that we need more diversity than we have today in our membership and in our research. And Elam is doing more qualitative research, grounded theory approaches, but is interested in the future looking at some of these other research methodologies, collective autoethnography, which is something that Julia Stolberg-Walker, who's on our call today, is one of the pioneering scholars in that area, microphenomenology, interpretivism, critical realism. I'm very much, for example, interested in prospective theorizing. And again, none of these methodologies are instead of qualitative and quantitative research. They're meant to simply be ways to approach those research methodologies in ways that bring more of spirituality and more other ways of knowing into our work. So Gunjan and Ellen, would you like to add any thoughts? Anything I may have missed?
You've covered it all, Chris.
Okay, and so now we have group 5. Judy, who else was in that group?
Kevin and Regina, and I forget who the last person is.
Okay, would anyone from group 5 like?
Oh, Sheldon. Yeah, thank you.
So would anyone from group 5 like to say something, what you discussed?
Judy, please go ahead.
Now we want to bring in the voices. I already had my 1 minute of fame. So Regina, go right ahead. I'll put in the questions. I'll put in the chat the questions that I raised. So I'll just put those in.
Regina, how are you doing?
Oh, fantastic.
I haven't seen you. It's been like, what, 20 years or so? I mean,
has been many white hairs ago.
It's so nice to see you. Jeez. Okay, well, let's see. Let's see. How many people teach courses? How many members? Okay, well, we have 5 minutes to answer all these questions.
I think Charlene raised a really interesting issue. Please feel free to jump in, Charlene. She has designed and proposed a new course And the conversation about that generated the idea of, it takes courage to propose a course that involves these kinds of topics. And also, and then Judy started looking for a course that came to her mind. And the point came up of how interesting it would be to have a repository of courses related to MSR, to syllabi and so on. And not only that, not only looking back, but looking forward. If somebody is thinking of proposing a course like that, can this person have access to a team that's willing to support that person? With ideas, with psychological support, with political support, and that kind of thing. Also, the notion of, for instance, Judy, many years ago, guest edited a special issue for JME, and the notion of how guest editing special issues in quote-unquote mainstream journals is a wonderful way of bringing all those topics up to the surface and highlighting them and giving them visibility and giving people ideas. And just the magic power of finding a tribe, finding the people that you resonate with, knowing that you're not an isolated weirdo who thinks about those things. And the power of attraction. I keep thinking of that, when Harry met Sally, that movie, and that scene where the ladies on the other table look at, and say, oh, I want to have what she's having. And, and earlier on was mentioned here about the fruits, the fruits of the spiritual tree. And if we think about the fruits of MSR, I think that's the message, that's the attraction, the power of people wanting to have what we are having.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I was just thinking that, and it gets back to questions that Judy raised are really important, like how many people submit to regular to Academy of Management journals. And that's why I was saying also submitting just to things like Harvard Business, something outside the Academy, because I don't think anybody reads the Academy of Management stuff anyway. But I mean, and bringing it up in consulting, and a lot of it comes back to what Judy was saying in the first place about being comfortable enough to talk about this stuff. And there's something to be said about what you just said, Regina, about the power of attraction. If we just keep doing what we're doing, you attract people who are interested in that. You're not going to get everybody. There's still going to be people who think it's a bunch of airy. Those people are still going to be there, but at least you attract the people who are into this stuff, and then you can start to change the culture. I was thinking in terms of back in the old days, there was the two groups. There was the Academy of Management, and there was the Org Behavior Teaching Conference. The same people would go to both groups. They go to Org Behavior Teaching Conference wearing t-shirts and jeans, or t-shirts and shorts. Then they would go to the Academy in the suit. Same people, but you'd think there were two different people. So how do you change this? Well, you go to the Academy, you wear Hawaiian shirts, you wear whatever you feel like, and gradually people stop wearing suits. And you do what. This is what you do. You do what you do, and gradually you attract other people to it. And you're not going to get everybody, but at least what I'm most proud of, I think, is we still maintain the culture we started years ago. The fact that people still say, I can't believe there's a group that I feel at home with. I can't believe there's a group where it's amazing. And that's lasted all these years. And to me, that's the big accomplishment. And again, if you want to, I think it's important. If you're going to change the world, change yourself first.
Absolutely, yes.
So I think Jerry makes an important point. So a major reason that we're here is because it is the group with community. And that means that each of us hopefully can support others, and hopefully others will support us.
Exactly. And don't get, now that we're a division, don't think, okay, well, now we got to be like all the other divisions. No, keep doing what we're doing and let the other divisions be like us. But at the same time, there's at least 5 other divisions or interest groups They look an awful lot like us. So let's do stuff with them. I'm thinking I mean, I don't even know their names anymore, but I know there's at least 3 or 4 that are interested in the same kind of stuff. And you get more power when you do joint things, putting on panels and stuff across the divisions always looks good. So
This can be a division, Jerry, that's about multiplication and addition, not just division. And we
like
just
that.
subtract what doesn't belong to us.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's right. Yeah, I love that analogy. Yes, that's true. And don't worry about the numbers. The numbers will improve. I don't know how many members there are, but I know there's more than there were when we started. So, and they'll keep going up. In the last couple, I really believe in keeping time. So we got like 3 minutes left. So, would
Excuse me,
anybody
Jerry?
like to?
Jerry, Anil had his hand up. I just wanted to see if you saw that.
I just want, thank you, Rita. I just want to emphasize what Regina said, the Harry met Sally kind of metaphor. If we are blissful ourselves, and people will say, what are they smoking or eating or drinking? And if you are confident, again, like Judy said, we just wear that with courage. I mean, courage is a strong word, as if we need sort of real courage out there with people. But just with joy, we just live our thing very blissfully. And then I think others will say, want to order that and want to join. So that's kind of why I brought that out was because Constantine brought this idea, why aren't people joining? I think the right people are joining when they're ready for it. And there might be people who will drift off but they will come when they need this kind of support and kindness and joy and love and homeliness and everything else.
Yes. Constantine, you wanted to say something. But you have to unmute.
Good. I wrote it in the chat. What I meant with why not more people here? I meant from within MSR, because they're like, if you look at the AOM website, it says that there are around 600 members, but then here there are only 20. And we're the MSR monthly, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and there were like 4 or 5 people, which kind of shocked me. So I mean, from within, why are there not more people? So I don't know, maybe there's another secret meeting that I don't know of yet, but
it's funny. I
Yeah.
saw that announcement about that meeting and I thought, this sounds really interesting. That monthly meeting, I hadn't heard of it. So I went on there and I went on the site and nothing. I couldn't get access. I don't know what happened. So
okay. Yeah. So it was this month. There was something odd. It kind of started. Yeah, I think the host started it late. But then
maybe that's
they
I
said,
thought, well, maybe there is no. I waited 10 minutes and there was
Hmm.
nothing there, and so I thought, okay, well, I guess.
let's make it a goal to maybe join the next MSR monthly together and then see where that takes us.
I would love
there,
to.
There are two more comments. One is division status. So we all celebrate division status, and I just, as a not foreign as a non-native speaker, I just thought about the word division and where that comes from and why are we celebrating that? Maybe we should call it vision for MSR.
That
Let
gets
the
back
D
to
and I out.
Anil's thing about the whole streaming.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about the monthly meeting, so it'd be helpful to have a notice of whoever sends out notices on the notice thing.
So where
saw
could I send? Where could I share that everybody reads it?
MSR Connect.
MSR Connect.
Read that, yeah. But
So
anyway, I want to thank all of you. This was really nice. Chris, you wanted to say something, or are you just waving goodbye?
I'm waving goodbye.
I had one last point. I had one last point to share.
Okay, go ahead, Constantine. Yes.
So the reason why I'm here is mainly because of FETSA. So I'm a FETSA scholar, and FETSA gave me that scholarship. And I'm not here because of the money, but it kind of invited me to the group, because before that I wasn't known. I wasn't sure, am I welcome? And so that was an invitation for me. So you're welcome and join us. And but the FETSA scholarships are coming to an end now after 5 years. And I know that Judy is looking for how where could we find more scholarships, more funding? So if any of you know of any opportunities, then I think that would be a great opportunity to reach out to others and attract more people that are currently unaware of MSR or not sure if they are welcome and can join. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank
Well, I
you.
want to thank all of you for this session, and hopefully thousands of people will watch the recording.
Thank you, Jerry. Thanks so much for a great question. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate
And
it.
thank you, Jerry. Very good program.
Thank you, and see you all in Chicago, but before then on the monthly thing.
Done.
Thank you.
Bye.